Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Torey and today we are doing my July reading wrap up. Once again, this month I did not fill out any of my beginning pages of my journal, so we are going to do that and then jump into what I actually read and what my thoughts were on everything. So I have kind of pre-planned out what I'm going to do. I don't think I'm going to be adding much more of the space theme just because I don't think I have enough room to put a bunch of decorations on this particular page. But I did read 6 books last month. And let me pull those out. So I read Double Pucked. I don't know if that's focusing. This Wicked Fate, High Achiever, Brutal Billionaire, Fourth Wing, and Love Theoretically. Obviously, since these are 2 of the larger book covers, these were my favorites. So those 2 I'm going to put on these pages right here, and then the remaining 4 are going to go on this page. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and update my beginning pages. I did not read any physical books. I read 3 digital books and 3 audiobooks. So I'm just going to alternate them color-wise. For my digital books, I'm using N79, and for audiobooks, I color those in 992 in my Tombow markers. All right, and on the next page, I am just going to color in 6 boxes for 6 new books read, and then fill in 6 for my July bar graph. I'm going to be using N79 for all of that as well. I think I forgot to pick a book for my book of the month for July, so that is going to stay blank. I did not read any of my physical or digital backlog, and I didn't read anything from my A to Z challenge. So now we are just going to jump into my recaps. Okay, I'm going to grab this number stamp from Heidi Swap. I don't know the name of it, but I think the last time that I looked, I don't think it was available anymore. But if it is, I will link it below like always. And then I'm just going to stamp in all of my numbers that go down here. And then my favorite book this month was Fourth Wing. So I have a second cover printed for that one, and I just used my little Canon Ivy printer. This is the full size, and then these ones right here I just printed side by side instead of printing it on sticker paper like I have been. I did still print the synopsi. I'm not sure what the correct phrases, but I printed those out on my clear sticker paper, and then I also printed out some little dragons for Fourth Wing so that I can put that on my review there. I think I'm going to use my close to my heart sapphire, because I do have quite a bit of blue here, so I think I might just use that to stamp out my numbers. I just noticed that there is no 0 on here. Dang. Okay. All right, so I read 3,083 pages. I also read 3 genres. Also, that's supposed to be the number of books I read, not how many pages. I'm just gonna probably do like a little arrow or something for right there. So 3,083 pages, 6 books, 3 genres, and 2 formats. I did not read any physical books this month. And then my favorite book was Fourth Wing. So I actually have my little catch-all book right here. And this is a little Archer and Olive B6 journal. And I have just not known what to say because I've been kind of just filming these on like a whim. And I've not really known what to say about the books that I've been reading. So I actually wrote down like legitimate thoughts of these books in my little journal, my little catch-all journal that I have for once I was ready to film this video. That way I've got some decent thoughts and I'm not just like rambling on. I probably, because I have all of this, I probably won't actually write down my thoughts on camera. I'll probably do everything else and then I'll just basically read or go over what my actual thoughts were for each book while I'm adding it on there. Kind of at least just giving myself a little bit of a guide, like a talking guide for what I thought, so I don't blank on what I actually wrote down. So the first thing that I'm going to do on my recap pages is I'm going to go over all of my line work. So I've got a couple of lines sketched out. For this month, I'm doing something a little bit differently, and this is actually something I don't think I've ever done for a reading recap, but I love those little images of like a book cover, and then it's got like all of the arrows pointing to the different types of tropes. And I'll like put like a little image on screen here so that you can see what I'm talking about if you don't know. But I decided to look up the different tropes, since mostly what I read was either romance or fantasy romance, and picked out like my favorite little tropes for each book, and I have little arrows with those things written around it. And I've got that for all of the books, even the memoir. I didn't want that to be too different, so I just wrote some, what did I write for the memoir? I wrote it was intense, a memoir, and fast-paced was all I wrote for that one, but I wanted it to have the same kind of vibe as the other books that I'm putting on here. So first I'm just going to get everything lined, that way I can erase my pencil marks and then start getting things adhered down. I'm only going to be erasing a couple of the lines, just anything that might fall underneath one of my photo stickers. So my first book that I'm going to have on here, and my favorite book this month, was Fourth Wing. And I almost gaslit myself into changing my rating on this book, honestly. People on Instagram seem to love this book. And then for some reason, every single video that I've seen pop up on my like page or my recommended videos on YouTube, everyone has just utterly despised it. And it's almost to the point of like, it seems like they're like bashing people for liking it. So I don't know. I like was starting to question my own taste. I was like, wow, is it really that bad of a book? Like, why do I like it so much if everybody else hates it? But then I was just like, you know what? Everybody's different. People like different things. People read books for different reasons. I read books to escape. I don't read books to like get too caught up in like the plot or how well written it is, or if there's a typo or like things like that, like where some people will like destroy a book because there's like a typo in it. I'm not really usually too worried about that. That doesn't mean I don't notice it, because I absolutely notice typos, but that stuff doesn't really bother me when I'm reading. I'm usually just using books as a way to get away, to like go into a whole new world or like a new experience. I don't know. But I liked this book a lot. Obviously, because it is my favorite for the month. So I gave it 5 stars. I ended up not changing my rating because I decided not to gaslight myself into feeling like what I chose was incorrect. I think I might only be able to use 2 of my little dragons here because I also still have to put my recap as well. But I'm going to trim a little bit of them off maybe so I can fit some more. Okay, so for this book, let me see what I wrote. Let me remember what I wrote down here before I get too distracted. So I had written in my little catch-all journal, I said, there's so many mixed thoughts I've seen for this book. Instagram seems to love it and YouTube seems to hate it. I personally loved it. It was one of those books for me that I couldn't immediately start another book after. So after I finished this book, I spent like 2 days being like, I should start another book. And then I was like, no, I can't start another book. I'm still reading The Fourth Wing. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, I'm not. I'm not reading that book. I can absolutely start another book. So like, it kept like making me feel like I was still reading it because it left on such a cliffhanger that like I couldn't physically start another book for like a couple of days. I had to force myself to like pick up a new book. It was crazy. Let's see. The only issue that I really had with The Fourth Wing was that I definitely thought that Violet was a lot younger than she was. And when I pulled the synopsis, I must have just skimmed the synopsis, because when I pulled up the synopsis to print it out, it definitely says right there in the very first word is 21-year-old Violet. And I thought she was like 18. She was just written like her thoughts and her actions and stuff made it seem like she was much younger than she actually is in the book. So that was the only thing I didn't like, because it really threw me off guard for a minute when I got like 3/4 of the way through the book and they like say their ages, and I was like, oh, well, wait a minute, that's not how old I thought she was. But that was my biggest issue with it, is that she was written like she was a lot younger than she actually is. So the tropes that I put down here for Fourth Wing were enemies to lovers, banter, because I love books with banter. That's like one of my favorite things. Chronic illness rep, romantasy, slow burn, and then dragons, because I love dragons. All right, and then just down here as well, I'll write the little blurb that I just said. And then we'll move on to Love Theoretically. So for this book, I didn't actually write a ton down in my little journal. Other than, like, I love Allie Hazelwood books. And I will continue to buy them for sure. This one I loved just as much as the other two that I've read, Love Hypothesis and Love on the Brain. I loved those as well. So the tropes that I really liked for this one were rivals to lovers. I didn't feel like it was enemies to lovers, but I did see that written in some places. It didn't really feel much like enemies to me, but I definitely agreed with the rivals to lovers trope. And then Grumpy Sunshine. I love Grumpy Sunshine tropes. And then I also really liked that there was diabetes representation in this book, which, and maybe I didn't scroll through enough like reviews on Goodreads or something like that, but I definitely didn't see anybody like talking about it. Like so much so like I started questioning myself, like, did I make that up? Because I really thought that there was like diabetes representation in this book. So I went to Allie Hazelwood's website, and it's definitely listed there as a trigger warning, chronic illness rep type 1 diabetes. And I really, really liked that that was in this book. So that definitely put it up there for me. Everything else, it's pretty much the same type of vibes as her other two books. And I just love it. I just love the way that it's written. Everything plays out. I liked that. I don't want to give it away, but it says in the synopsis that she like fake dates people for a living, which I thought was hilarious. And yeah, and then ends up one of her fake dating clients' brothers ends up being one of her rivals, and then like that's how the whole thing starts. So it was really good. I really liked it. For my arrows, I am using this Allie Edwards pen. I believe it's 0.5 or 0.3. I'm not sure anymore. It doesn't say on here. But I just wanted to use a thicker pen for the arrows to make them a little bit more noticeable. But I really like writing with my Energel 0.3 pen. And so I'm going to continue writing with that, but I'm using this one for my arrows. All right, moving on. I'm going to be doing the same thing on this page, just at a much smaller scale. Obviously, my book covers are a little bit smaller. And so I'm going to draw an outline around my books and then place my synopsis, little cutouts on each side here, and then give myself a little bit of space over here to write my actual thoughts on them. All right, so the first book that I'm putting down here is, oh, I just smushed my nail polish. It's called Devil Pucked. And this is a Why Choose Hockey romance. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't think that like any of the hockey romances that I've read have had like too deep of a storyline or a plot or anything like that. This one was no different, but I liked it a lot. It was a nice just pass the time type of read. It's about a book nerd and two hockey stars who are on like opposing teams, and they form like a relationship with each other. There ends up being like a fake relationship trope in there. Hockey romance, why choose that? Those are the main tropes that I put on there. It was pretty good. I liked it. I gave it 3 stars. It was a good book. Now, if you read hockey romances and you've found one that's just got like a crazy storyline, definitely leave it down in the comments below. I would like to read one that's more like in depth, I guess. But honestly, I'm good with my light and airy ones too. I just love the hockey romances. That's probably my favorite sports romance. If you like sports romances, let me know in the comments below what your favorite is. Okay, the next book was This Wicked Fate. And I think I actually did write some stuff about this one down. Yes, I did have some thoughts about this one. I'm going to read them to you in a moment. So I wrote, I think I saw an excerpt of this book on Instagram. I honestly don't even remember, but it was a Kindle Unlimited book, so I gave it a go. I really liked Ava and Finn's characters, and I'm glad Ava grew to be more accepting of herself. I may have missed it, and I don't know, spoiler warning, I don't know if this would be a spoiler or not. But it does say Ava's like a shifter, but I have no idea what her monster is. Like, I could not figure it out. I Googled it after I finished reading this book, and I have no idea. I have no idea what her monster is or what she like shifts into. I know it eats people. That's about as much as I know about what specifically her monster is. I couldn't really find that answer, and it really bothered me. And to be completely honest, that's probably why I only gave the book 3 stars. If I had like, I think that they should have gone into a little bit more about like her monster. That's all they call it in the book, is just her monster. And I have no idea. I have no idea, and that bothers me. Based on the brief descriptions of it, I was imagining it like an overgrown wolf. Like a very, very large, like overgrown wolf. Like a bear-sized wolf, I guess. But I'm still not sure. I don't know if that's correct. If you've read this book, let me know. Do you know what the monster is? Please help me. Save me from myself. But that was my biggest issue with the book. Everything else I liked. It has golden retriever vibes, touch 'em and die, found family, and then there's an arranged marriage, but it's not with the main characters. So it was a decent book. All right, moving right along. The next book that I have is Brutal Billionaire. This one I really liked. I will say though, reading the synopsis, I 100% thought that this was going to be like an affair, like trope. And I almost didn't read the book because of it. And let me read you this synopsis. So it says, he'll get what he wants, even if I'm already taken. Holt Sebastian is royalty in our world. As CEO of the Sebastian News Corp, he's the man with all the power. The man who decides if I'll always just be a local television anchor or if I'll be the rising star of my own show. I make it my mission to be noticed, make him see my potential. But soon, it's clear he's the one in charge. His possessiveness is brutal. He owns everything they touch. His eyes own everything they touch. I feel his gaze on me when he's in the room. The heat of them as they rake down my body, taking me in, marking me as his. He doesn't just want me on the screen, he wants me in his bed. And Holt Sebastian gets what he wants. No one will stop him. No one will get in his way. No one can protect me from his desire. Not even the man who promised nothing would come between us and his ambition, my husband. So, like, tell me that doesn't give you, like, affair vibes, right? So I almost did not read this book because of that. Because, like, that's not my jam. Like, I'll read a lot of questionable stuff, if I'm being completely honest. But, like, the affair vibes, like, I'm not here for that. No, thank you. But I gave it a shot, and to my satisfaction, it is not an affair. Spoiler alert. It's the main character, Briston. She is in an open marriage, but, like, it's an one-sided open marriage. She's not, like, participating in the open marriage. Only her husband is. So, like, that doesn't correlate with the synopsis at all. Like, so I was concerned, but that's not what it is. Let me see if there was any other thoughts that I had on that. Oh, the main reason that I picked this book up is because right now I'm watching Suits, and I am obsessed with Harvey and Donna, and just the banter between them, the chemistry. Like, I was like, I need some instant satisfaction. Like, I need to find a workplace romance novel to read, like, immediately. So I went and I was looking for one, and this is one that I found, and it definitely sated me for sure. Like, I liked it a lot, and it definitely, I basically was imagining, like, Harvey and Donna, I think. Not their faces or anything, but, like, I definitely got the same type of vibes. I liked it a lot. And then the only other thing that I wrote about on here was just the whole, how the synopsis made me think that it was an affair trope, and it's not. Looking at this, I definitely I think I need to add some washi tape. So I'll probably add these 2 washies at the end here after I've finished adding everything for this one. So the last book that I read was High Achiever. And I talked about this book in my August setup. I started listening to it as I was setting up my reading journal for August. Now, in complete transparency, I technically finished this book in August. I started reading it on July 31st. The reason that I'm including it in my July recap is that while, yes, I did finish listening to it in August, I only listened to it for like a half an hour in August. So, in my mind, if I have a book that falls over like multiple months, so I'm reading it on the, like, I honestly try not to read books over like the new month start, just because I like to have everything in the same month that I'm reading it in when I'm filling out these books and stuff. But when I do go over, I add the book to whichever month I spent more time reading it in. So for this one, it was, I think, an 8-hour audiobook. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that's correct. But so I spent like 7.5 hours reading it in July, or listening to it in July, and then only a half an hour listening to it in August. And I was just like, I'm not putting that in August because I literally spent a significantly larger amount of time listening to it in July. So that's how I do that. If you track your reading, let me know down in the comments below how you handle situations like that, where you finish a book in a different month than which you started it. Let me know. All right. So this last book, High Achiever, I read this book. I listened to this book on Audible, and it was pretty intense. It was definitely intense. And the description on Goodreads versus the description on Audible are two completely different synopsises. So I read it on Audible, and I would have, after I finished it, I Googled Tiffany Jenkins because I wanted to see like what she looked like, because I'm nosy like that, and realized after I had finished reading the book that this is actually like a social media influencer, the Juggling the Jenkins. And I had no idea, just absolutely no idea. So I was blown away by that. But yeah, her story is crazy. I was blown away. I think I gave this, I keep saying I was blown away, but like I wasn't that blown away, I guess. All right, so I'm gonna add a little bit of washi, I think, just to kind of liven up my pages a little bit. Pulled out this purple pen and I don't think I'm going to use it at all. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and erase all my lines, and then we'll do a little flip through. I think once I actually get my little synopses and stuff down here, I don't think I will have much more room to add anything else. So I think we're just gonna wrap this up here. All right, now I don't want to waste this little dragon that I printed, so I'm actually going to just pop it right here. Well, I don't know if I messed that up or not. Oh well. Okay, so the July reading journal is done. Aside from my personal thoughts being written in here, which I will do off camera. So yeah, let me know down below what you think. And what was your favorite book for this month? All right, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.